Welcome to the new edition of the Pandacast, and yes, this is a solo Pandacast. I won't be joined by David today. We've just been very busy, and syncing our schedules has been really difficult, so I'm just going to run alone today, and I'm still in my work clothes. I've been in these since, 6 a.m., and it's 10 o'clock now, so it's been a long day, but I really had a topic I wanted to discuss, and I really want to get this off the ground as well. So the topic of today, we're just going to run right into it, is the FGC and Smash communities are different things. Okay, there's a lot of people who try to refer to the Smash community as part of the FGC, or say that they are one and the same, and that's not actually the case. From afar, it might look like that, but it's not. Now, let me explain. Why did I want to talk about this topic? Well, there's something that has become very hot in Twitter right now, in the Twitter sphere among top players. And this is Jigglypuff. So for those not in the know, Battle of BC 3 happened last weekend, and there was a Jigglypuff versus an Ice Climbers. And at this event, Ice Climbers had the wobbling was already banned. Okay, now the Jigglypuff player and Ice Climbers went to Game 5, and Jigglypuff had been stalling, essentially, platform camping, doing everything that he could to not engage with the Ice Climbers, which, as a Jigglypuff, that is probably the strategy you should be taking against Ice Climbers, but that's neither here nor there. And then Game 5 happened, and, there's a clip by the Sertosti on Twitter, where he basically showed the end of the set where the Ice Climbers player just gave up, just stopped chasing the Jigglypuff player, and just whatever. He was done. Okay, and the Jigglypuff player didn't care. Just sitting on the platform. He got a stock lead. Doesn't matter to him. He's gonna win. And this then ignited a big debate on Twitter, and I don't want to paint the Smash community as a united whole on this one front, but essentially FGC people, like fighting game community people, are saying, suck it up. This is a viable strategy. Timing out is a real strategy. It's viable, okay? And whereas the Smash community, there are many people up in arms saying we should have rules to prevent this from happening. What rules, we don't know, but this should not be the case, okay? And this debate, to me, really truly highlights one of the hearts of why Smash and FGC come from different places. The Smash community and the fighting game community are different entities. Okay, and the reason being, is that FGC, when you get a game, it is competitive out of the box. Okay, you get Street Fighter, and Street Fighter has rules set for you. There's a competitive mode set for you, and it is made this way. So anything you can do with the rules that you were given is legal. The last major thing I can think of that was banned in FGC was obviously like Akuma in Street Fighter 2, like the boss characters who were clearly not balanced for fighting. And even that has changed because, well, now developers typically balance those characters. So the only things that get banned are typically bugs or essentially stalling tactics caused by bugs, which are unbeatable or with no counterplay to them. So in the FGC, there's pervasive thought of, if you can do it, it'll fly. Do it. And a lot of people quote Justin Wong, who used to be a very turtly player and was very famous for being very, very turtly, which means, for those who don't understand the term, he would defend a lot. He would just be really defensive and not really engage and be able to beat people with that style. And it was not very fun necessarily to watch for a lot of people, but he won, and that's viable. And that is, to the FGC, that is something that should be lauded, that he was winning within the constructs of the rules. You have characters like Dulcim who play from afar and aren't necessarily fun to play against or fun to watch, but depending on the person, obviously. But that is a viable built-in strategy. Okay. So the Smash community, on the other hand, was given a game that was not made to be competitive. It was not competitive out of the box. The Smash community built a competitive title out of a game. They banned stages. They, made rules, set stock limits instead of timer. They chose the constructs in which to make the game more competitive. And then on top of that, once there was a competitive structure, there were other things that had to be banned. Things like peach stalling, which is the peach side B on a platform infinitely. Pound stalling, which is pounding underneath the stage. Okay, this is in Melee specific. Planking in Brawl. There were a lot of techniques, and infinite wobbling, for example. Wobbling, which essentially is an infinite grab by the ice climbers just until time runs out. These techniques all have had to be banned either individually or with a blanket like no stalling rule. These, well, I say had to, but they were banned. Did they have to be banned? That's not the argument. The argument is that they did get banned, okay? And the game is now what it is today because of that. And they were banned not because it was right or it was wrong, but because the Smash community had in mind what is competitive and what is not competitive. And these techniques did not fall within the scope of what they considered a competitive construct for their game. The Smash community, even though it lacks, necessarily a greater leadership head, it has some leadership groups here and there, but there's not one entity that controls it all, created this, okay? So when FGC is given their game, say, well, you can do anything in the construct of these games to win, that's true. And what that Jigglypuff player did versus those Ice Climbers is absolutely fair, based on the construct of our current rules. And the difference is, some of the Smash community, not all of them, some of them are saying that there should be something to contest what he did as being a strategy that should be acceptable, that should be competitive. And now, you argue whether or not this should be the case, okay? I apologize for this part because I'm not that well versed in sports, but I've been told these things before. The NBA, for example, has made rule changes in order to make the game more offensive, more fun to watch, more fun to, I assume fun to play, I'm not sure. Things like, for example, the shot clock last year was reduced from, I believe, 24 seconds down to 14 seconds. And that was a big change that was made, presumably, to make the game more offensive. And I have an article here pulled up that in the start of the 2001-2002 season, the NBA adopted zone defense, which had been banned before, which is essentially where, I guess, basketball was very one-on-one. They made it so you could only block one person at a time, and with the zone defense, they could then have people within zones. And there's also a defensive 3-second rule along with this, where they had to be restricted to stay in the paint for 3 more seconds. So, like I said, I'm not huge into sports, but the reason they made this change was specifically because of Allen Iverson and Shaquille O'Neal, apparently, and that at the time the NBA was going through a scoring drought. There weren't scoring that many baskets. The pace of the game was too slow. It was too defensive of how it was being played, and TV ratings were going down. Okay, so they made this change after Shaq's, I think, three-peat, and it theoretically made the game faster. Now, was this a good change for basketball? How can we tell? There's no way to tell that, but it was a change made, and these changes happen all the time in different leagues and different sports. They make changes based on what they think is best for the health of the game, health presumably being viewership and players and things like that. And that only affects the constructs of competitive play. And that sort of, to me, is the same correlate to how the Smash community views their game. They're viewing their game almost as that creator aspect of it, where they want their game to be healthy, they want their game to be good, they want their game to grow, and they believe that these things are detrimental, or rather, there could be changes, not detrimental, there could be changes that would make it better for their game's health. Now, I don't really want to get into whether or not that is a right or a wrong mindset. That doesn't matter to me. That's not the point here. But the point here is, why is the FGC and Smash community, and some of the Smash community, so different in where they're coming from in this singular debate? And that is because of the idea that the Smash community and FGC community are not the same. They are cousins, built from similar genetics, related, and they get along and they see each other at family events like Evo, CEO, Combo Breaker. But they are different. They were raised differently. And that is the best correlation I can say here. Now, why is this important? It's because for many years, and I was actually part of this wave, I was actually part of getting Smash at EVO, because I've been huge into fighting games my whole life. I've been huge into Smash Brothers as well. Smash Brothers to me is a fighting game, but it's a platform fighting game that is its own genre. Okay. And you know, I have GameCube controllers, sticks. I just bought a mix box the other day, with basically a hitbox for playing Unist. So when I actually played a role in bringing Brawl to EVO and helping them make the rule sets and everything like that, and running Brawl at EVO when it first got there, seeing the Smash community being accepted by the FGC, that's what sort of they wanted. The Smash community always perceived themselves many years ago as the little brother. They wanted to be as big as the big brother. They wanted to have events like EVO. They wanted to be, you know, the same size and the same legacy as the FGC. They wanted to be there. They wanted to be accepted. And, you know, when Melee got voted in through the donation drive for breast cancer, back to EVO, which in many ways started the resurgence of Melee as a competitive title that's widely accepted again. That still for years was the perception that we want to be part of the FGC. We're thankful to the FGC for including us. And then as time went on, FGC and Smash communities rubbed each other the wrong way sometimes. Again, this is a general statement. This is not necessarily to one person or to the whole communities, but you'll see many of the top players getting along very well on Twitter and in real life as well. But it then became more popular that the Smash community saying we don't really need the FGC, we don't need to be part of the FGC, we don't need to idolize them like we did. We are our own thing now, and the FGC accepts that. I don't think there's anyone really crying about that differentiation. In fact, that's actually pretty cool. And in the recent years, in the last probably 2 years, more so, maybe last year and a half, it's become more evident the difference between the two, and the cliques and the sort of social circles that each one has developed. And they have their own personalities. They have their own ways they like engaging with things. They have their own, people they idolize or don't idolize on purpose. It's really interesting how they're growing apart, but they're still, for some reason, lacks this greater perception from, the people who are part of these circles, that FGC and Smash came from different places, they are distinct communities. This, in my opinion, is an important thing going forward, and this is actually a bigger and bigger deal going forward, because FGC has its own DNA, it has its own identity, it has its own generational gaps between the players playing new games and playing old games and different ways of thinking. To then try to mesh in what Smash has going on is detrimental to both communities, because some will latch on to these other ways of thinking, and it creates this one big mess. But at the same time, it's really cool that to see Justin Wong himself tweeting a clip of his own gameplay, I think it was Marble 3 is Storm, saying, pro Jigglypuff, because, he is used as an example by many people as an FGC correlate of what, what happened. And you get to see the people, their take on these things. But at the same time, I can't additionally fault the Smash community for wanting to do what they want to do because of the way they perceive the game, the way they perceive their own rules. Now, if we're talking on a personal level, should this happen? I don't have any horses in this race per se. It doesn't necessarily matter to me. I don't have a Jigglypuff player on PG, but my biggest horse in all of these races is the bigger Smash and FGC get. The better we do as a company, PG, and really the happier we are. So I always want to do more for the community. I want to grow the community. I want to make it bigger, because that'll only help me in the end. That's why the PGR is a thing. So I just want the Smash community to do something that they will then support, that will then in turn increase viewership and will make people enjoy the game more. Because you know what? Melee is sick. Smash is awesome, and it's a lot of fun to watch, and I don't think Melee's going to die anytime soon. It's going through a low point. Admittedly, it's at its lowest point right now that it probably has been in the last 4 or 5 years, because of the gods taking breaks or quitting or retiring, and a lot of shift. But there's a lot of new blood coming. There's a lot of exciting new gameplay happening. So it absolutely will continue to grow and on its own. And that I'm looking forward to seeing in the future, not just how the Smash community and even within Smash, how Melee and Ultimate become their own thing and work together and have their own personalities and have their own ways of moving forward, but the FGC as well. Within FGC, I'm starting to see some cliques like Anime FGC starting to get their own events. CEO Otaku, for example, and Frosty Faustings, and these events that mainline these anime titles. Now that anime finally has a star game with Dragon Ball Fighters, and it has the tours, so it's actually really pretty cool to see. And then you obviously have the more traditional 2D fighters and 3D fighters, Tekken, Soul Calibur. So each community is almost coming into its own. It's growing into its own thing. And as we move forward, to be able to separate these out and distinguish them from one another actually matters quite a bit, because even if you look at the bottom line, even if you look at things like followers on Twitter, okay, to say the FGC and Smash communities are different things, you can prove it by follower overlap. If I were to compare follower overlap of Nairo versus follower overlap of Pierre Balrog or Tokido, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of crossover. And that's the important thing, is that when we start to define that our communities are separate, we can then celebrate the times our communities come together. So when we do get the EVOs and the CEOs, it's a bigger deal when you get Zero chilling with F-Champ or something at an event, and these are just random names and pulling out a hat, or Esam hanging out with Punk. These crossovers are more interesting and expose our followers and our communities to the other community, and that cross-pollination can only help promote growth. But in order to do that, you have to realize that there is cross-pollination happening. You have to realize that they are separate things. You have to realize that, these are completely separate events meeting together. And in doing this, can then help each other grow more and grow bigger. So, I say again, the FGC and the Smash community are different things. And that's awesome. That's great. They should continue being their own things. And when they fully embrace that, they can then extend that to each other and help each other instead of being at odds and fighting. So yeah, that's probably it for this Pandacast. My phone has now buzzed 12 times, so I gotta go. But thank you for tuning in. I hopefully will make these a more regular thing if people want to see more. And if you have topics you want me to rant about, let me know. I'll probably have a little bit more structured rant going forward. This is just spur of the moment. I said, rather David said, stop ranting at me, go rant on the camera. And here I am. So anyways, let me know any feedback you want to give, constructive, preferably, and leave it below this video, or tweet at me at PG_SamuraiPanda. And thank you guys for tuning in.